Andre's side, thanks to his capture card recorded content, showing him rocking that extra drill, Togekiss, Rotom Wash, Arcanine, Rillaboom, and Dragapult. Whilst on Lalli's side, we are going to be seeing that Dragalge, Female Indeedee, Hatterene, Delmise, Dusclops, and Urshifu.
Yeah, so definitely some cool picks coming out from Finland here. Alexandre is bringing a team that he reached the finals of a regional with. I believe there's just a Rillaboom over the Tyranitar, so going with some tried and true picks here. And you want to for playoffs, you want to bring the strongest team that you can, as this is now a single elimination. But some really, really interesting picks coming out from Lalli here. He's got that Dragalge that is very, very powerful with its adaptability, because we've seen all the damage that Porygon Z's can do, and Dragalge has the same ability. It does have that adaptability to really boost the power of its attacking moves. We often see it paired with the Dusclops that we do see on Lalli's side of the field. To be able to bulldoze itself, it does like to carry that weakness policy as well. But also that Delmise can also really, really threaten the Trick Room. It looks like that is going to be the strategy that Lalli is going for, setting up that Trick Room.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting because you don't have to think about the speed natures of both of these Pokemon. Given in this matchup, there probably is going to be a Trick Room being set up, but we're actually going to see Female Indeedee and the Dusclops coming out from Lalli's side, whilst on Alexandre's side, the Arcanine and Extra Drill. We do see the Arcanine's Intimidate go off, but as well as a Mold Breaker reveal on the Extra Drill. So it doesn't actually have Sand Rush. It has the Mold Breaker, which can go through certain abilities, such as, for example, Disguise, without having to deter itself from any damage output.
Yeah, as he's got rid of the Tyranitar, it makes sense to change to the Mold Breaker Excadrill here. And Lalli going with the classic follow me, redirection, and set up Trick Room lead. Whereas Alexandra's gone for the Arcanine to try and slow things down a little bit. And we're going to be seeing that redirection straight away.
Redirection coming out from that Female Indeedee does want to try to ensure that safe Trick Room, whilst a Snarl does come out from the Arcanine. The Indeedee actually misses, so it doesn't break any potential Focus Sash, whilst it does get a tiny bit of chip damage on that Dusclops, whilst reducing its special attack by one stage. But we also see the Extra Drill prepping up for the end game already in the beginning of the game with that Swords Dance, so it will be going to +2 stages in its offensive, in its physical attack, whilst the Dusclops does get the Trick Room going.
Yeah, so it could be an important Snarl miss on that Indeedee. Like you said, no potential Focus Sash has been broken, and Expanding Force will be doing the full amount of damage in the Psychic Terrain as well. Hence, the Extra Drill isn't really threatened by the Dusclops or the Indeedee. Only really a Will-O-Wisp coming out would be able to neuter that Extra Drill. Otherwise, it's going to be able to still threaten a lot of damage. It doesn't really matter if it's moving second against two things that aren't really threatening it, but Arcanine is going to be switching out here for that Togekiss.
Yeah, Togekiss is actually going to be switching in right now. Maybe switching in to try to redirect any attacks or burns on the Extra Drill, which does go for the Protect, whilst the Dusclops actually goes for the Nightshade. I'm not 100% sure into which slot, only because the footage right now is stuck. It looks like it went into the Togekiss' slot, whilst the Expanding Force does come out from that Female Indeedee into the Togekiss. So the double up from both of those Pokemon being able to chip away that Togekiss quite a bit.
Yeah, it's probably under half here, so that could definitely be a significant Snarl miss, as the Togekiss would be in range of another Nightshade and Expanding Force if Lalli wants to go for that. So looks like he's going to go right on the offensive here, though, with that Dynamax. Almost certainly going to be that Excadrill to make use of that Swords Dance boost that it got on turn 1.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing that Extra Drill go ahead and get that Dynamax going, being able to threaten huge amounts of damage whilst boosting both its defense and its special defense at whichever one he chooses to go for, as the Togekiss actually goes for Protect, doesn't go for the Follow Me that you would expect. Nightshade does go into that Togekiss's Protect as well, whilst Mystical Fire double up actually goes into the Togekiss. Very well played from Alexandre there, whilst he gets a very, very free match break. Does go into the Indeedee slot. I think it actually picks up the KO, so it might not have that Focus Sash. I'm just going to have to wait to see if the Pixel was playing a trick on my eyes, which it wasn't. It does go down, whilst that Extra Drill, as well as the Togekiss, get that very important +1 special defense stat stage boost.
Yeah, but that is going to allow this Dragalge to be able to come in Trick Room. The Mystical Fire as a choice of attack into the Togekiss was an interesting one. It would have done a lot less damage than the Expanding Force would have done. So maybe try and cover for a Rillaboom switch in to get rid of that Psychic Terrain and still threaten super effective damage, but the Togekiss being able to protect it is going to be able to redirect any moves coming out from this Dragalge and keep that Excadrill safe and just really be able to fire off a Max Quake into this Dragalge. The Dynamax won't save it after that Swords Dance boost either.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that Dragalge in Trick Room going for the Dynamax, you would think it is in the most opportune of situations, but this Excadrill right now proving to be a very big threat. So it's all about if we can get rid of it. But no, the Togekiss is going to be going for that Follow Me, redirecting any attacks as the Bulldoze does come out from that Dusclops. It will be landing a hit on both the Excadrill and the Dragalge, but it, of course, should be proccing that weakness policy, which we do see on our screens right now, ladies and gents. That Dragalge does go to +2 special attack, threatening huge amounts of damage, but there is no redirection, so it might be going down this turn as the Max Geyser comes out from the Dragalge, does go into the Togekiss. Wow, doesn't actually pick up the KO. That Togekiss being able to survive on 2 HP thanks to that Max Quake in the previous turn, which allowed it to bulk itself up on the special defensive side. Max Quake comes out from that Excadrill into that Dragalge, and it actually goes ahead and should be picking up the KO. I'm not sure if I missed it. Yeah, it does indeed. So not only does it boost itself now to +2 special defense for both its own self and Togekiss, it gets rid of Lalli's huge Trick Room sweeper as well as his Dynamax capability.
Yeah, and really taking away the best threat to that Excadrill with that Max Geyser. Dhelmise is still going to be able to threaten good damage against the Excadrill, but the Togekiss surviving means it's going to be able to redirect one more time. It's probably going to be a Nightshade to be able to take out the Togekiss. It would allow the Dhelmise to hit the Excadrill with whatever it wants to. You're going for Max Quakes instead of Steel Spikes, so its defense is still at the neutral stage. So the Dhelmise will be able to hit it for good damage, but then there is always going to be that Arcanine waiting in the back to intimidate that Dhelmise, but Togekiss is just going to redirect this turn instead.
Yeah, Togekiss just going to redirect any attacks going for that Excadrill, which is just sitting there and boosting itself and just dealing so much damage. Nightshade will be able to pick up the KO onto this Togekiss, so the Dhelmise will be getting a free move before this Excadrill, and it does actually go for the Phantom Force, not wanting to accept any damage dealt onto it, but the Excadrill chooses right, does go for the Dusclops with a Max Steel Spike nearly picking up the KO at +2, just shows how bulky this Dusclops really is. That is a Max Steel Spike, ladies and gents, at +2 from an Excadrill. That just goes to show you why Dusclops is such a good Pokemon when it comes to just its wanting to extend its longevity on the field. But the Dhelmise was able to get away with it a bit with its Phantom Force.
Yeah, quite a cool play with the Phantom Force on the last turn of Trick Room. It's able to Phantom Force away itself and attack after the Pokemon on Alexandra's side is going to be able to attack as well. An interesting choice having Phantom Force over the new move Poltergeist, which is a lot more powerful. But now that the Trick Room's over, the Dusclops is going to be easily KO'd before it sets up Trick Room again. So even though the Dhelmise is going to be able to get off one Phantom Force, it's just going to be able to be attacked the next turn, as the Dusclops won't be able to reset the Trick Room here. And Lalli didn't really bring too much to threaten down that Excadrill. Did have the Max Geyser on the Dragalge, but because it was just paired with the Togekiss, it was never able to hit it, and the Excadrill just got one Swords Dance boost, and then it didn't care about the Trick Room at all. If it just wasn't attacked, it doesn't matter when you're moving, and it's just being able to really, really put a hole in Lalli's team, and looks like it's just going to be able to clean up this endgame here.
Yeah, the Grassy Glide does come out from that Rillaboom. It moves first because of its +1 priority in grass terrain, picks up the KO onto that Dusclops, whilst Ironhead does move next. Of course, it does miss because Dhelmise was taking a break in the Shadow Realm whilst dealing huge amounts of damage on its return, thanks to that Life Orb that we do see it carrying, which actually is very interesting of an item choice on the Dhelmise, but then again, weakness policy is on the Dragalge.
Yeah, really threatening out a lot of damage into that Excadrill, and that did have a Steel Spike boost as well, and was able to do maybe 60-70% to the Excadrill, so really strong from the Dhelmise. So it looks like he did have another way of being able to do good damage to that Excadrill, but now that the Trick Room's over, the Excadrill is able to attack first and just take out this Dhelmise with the Iron Head.
Yeah, 100%. So game one is going to be going to Alexandre Lissardy of France, ladies and gents. So Lalli is going to have to change up his game plan going into game two. I feel like you said, Jamie, he wasn't able to shut down that extra drill, was he?
The problem with leading with the very passive lead of pretty much guaranteeing your Trick Room with Indeedee Dusclops, you get to go for Follow Me Trick Room. You're pretty much guaranteed Trick Room against this team. But then what are you doing in that Trick Room? You need to be able to threaten damage, and he really needs to get his Delmize and Dragalge into that Trick Room much sooner, and especially not next to the Togekiss as well. The Togekiss was able to keep that Excadrill safe, and so it just didn't care about the Trick Room. And that is the main strategy that Lalli does seem to be going for here. He does have that Urshifu, that would definitely threaten down the Excadrill as well. So that might be an adjustment he would want to make. Go with that Urshifu, whether it is the Single Strike or Rapid Strike, both would be able to threaten down the Excadrill. And it would be able to do that without Trick Room as well. So that could be an adjustment. But yeah, I don't think he can lead with that Indeedee Dusclops again. It would just be too passive with the redirection. It just wouldn't threaten anything. It would allow that Excadrill to get up another Swords Dance, and Alexandre would just be able to protect it again like he did in the game one, just bring in that Togekiss and just not care about the speed order.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just very, very passive from his end. He is going to be hoping to maybe, I'm not sure, because I feel like Alexandre being able to show off that Protect that was so crucial, that he actually got a double up from the Nightshade and a bit of the Expanding Force, but nevertheless, being able to have Protect on your Togekiss just creates so many mind games, because normally it's there to redirect, but at that point, Excadrill just went ahead. It got a absolutely free attack off onto Lalli's Pokemon. Whilst we haven't seen any potential Will-O-Wisp from the Dusclops, I feel like that could maybe improve his matchup as long as he gets rid of that redirection.
Yeah, the Protect on Togekiss is really crucial in keeping the redirection on Alexandre's side of the field, because that Excadrill was so important. It's almost certainly going to be very important in this game as well. But a very nice adjustment coming out here. The Dusclops has been left on the bench, and Urshifu of the Single Strike variety is going to be coming out for Lalli.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and well said as well from you, Jamie, that Urshifu does come onto the field whilst the Excadrill and the Togekiss comes out from Alexandre's side once again, being able to just threaten the setup going for the Excadrill. But the Urshifu isn't in the best of spots. Of course, it's ×4 weak to any Fairy-type moves, so do you think we're going to be seeing an offensive move coming out from this Togekiss in this turn?
Yeah, most likely. It's going to be able to bypass the redirection with the Dazzling Gleam as well into the Urshifu. So a nice adjustment to be able to deal with the Excadrill from Lalli, but also a nice adjustment from Alexandre, being able to predict that Urshifu, lead with that Togekiss and catch it with the Dazzling Gleams that could come out. So if it wants to go for a close combat, it both has to deal with either a Dazzling Gleam from the Togekiss or redirection that would be a 4x resist of that fighting move. So the Urshifu's really not in a great position here, and apparently Excadrill isn't either.
Wow, Excadrill actually going switching out for that Rillaboom, which does come now onto the field, does reset the terrain from the Psych terrain to the Grassy terrain thanks to that Grassy Surge ability. Whilst we see U-turn actually coming out from the Urshifu into the Rillaboom slot, being able to deal good amounts of damage, very, very free, as well as pivot itself out for a Pokemon of Lalli's choice in the back, which will be really interesting to see. I mean, the Lalli's Pokemon are mainly Trick Room orientated, so the Dragalge actually comes out this time round. Dazzling Gleam does come out from the Togekiss, deals good chip damage onto that Dragalge thanks to that critical hit, as well as the female Indeedee, as we do see Mystical Fire coming out from that Indeedee into the Rillaboom slot. So I feel like that was pretty free and well played from Lalli during that turn.
Yeah, he's been able to reposition himself very well. The Urshifu was really threatened down, but U-turn being a very good move here to get that Urshifu out. It would have broken the Focus Sash on the Excadrill if the Togekiss went on the offensive like it did with the Dazzling Gleam, but also be able to switch itself out before that Dazzling Gleam, allowing Dragalge to take it. And you see how much damage even a critical hit does to Dragalge. It's got very good special defenses. And now it's paired with the Indeedee. It's got redirection, facing down two Pokemon that are weak to poison. So if the Dragalge wants to go for its Dynamax and start firing off some oozes, it's going to become a very, very big threat by increasing its special attack. It would have to contend with that Excadrill switch-in. If it fires off an ooze into that Excadrill switch-in, that would just completely negate that turn. But there's going to be no switches here, and we're going to be seeing the Dynamax most likely come out from that Dragalge.
Yeah, so the Dynamax trigger will be pulled right now from Lalli's side, and it is indeed that Dragalge, which goes ahead and wants to just threaten huge amounts of damage whilst being able to boost itself, and also the female Indeedee in its special attack. Togekiss does go for the protect, so the real question is, which target did Dragalge go for this time round? Apologies for the frame rate freezes. This is, I think, according to the recording itself. So it looks like it could have gone into the Rillaboom, unless the Rillaboom had U-turn, actually. I think that is the case. Rillaboom did have U-turn. It went for it. In that case, I'm not sure which Pokemon it targeted. Probably the female Indeedee, as the Arcanine does come in its stead, does get the Intimidate drop off, whilst the Expanding Force comes out from the Indeedee into the Togekiss. Of course, it is single target now, thanks to the fact that there is no longer any Psych Terrain, as the Max Ooze does come out from that Dragalge into that Arcanine slot. It would have probably nearly picked up the KO onto that Rillaboom, depending on what its item was, but the Arcanine definitely survives it, as the Dragalge and its female Indeedee do get that +1 in special attack.
Yeah, and the Dragalge making itself a very big threat here. Arcanine will be able to snarl it down. It will be able to reduce it back down to neutral, maybe allowing that Togekiss to be able to survive another Ooze coming out. But Lalli's done a lot of damage to Alexandra's team already. He's brought 2 Pokemon down to half. He still does have that Excadrill switch in, and if the Ooze does go into an Excadrill, that would waste a turn of Dynamax completely from Lalli. But at the same time, if he's able to call that and go for a Geyser into that Excadrill switch in, that would put him into a fantastic position.
Wow, we're actually going to see the Togekiss go ahead and switch out for that Rillaboom, coming back onto the field this time around, as the female Indeedee does this turn switch out for the Hatterene, revealing the 4th and last Pokemon from Lalli's side, as the Arcanine does go for Snarl, does bring that Dragalge back down to neutral in its special attack, as the Hatterene does go to -1, whilst the Dragalge, still threatening huge amounts of damage, does go for the Max Wormwind and will pick up the KO onto that Arcanine, whilst bringing that Rillaboom's attack down to -1, being able to better position itself. Lalli does have a potential Trick Room set up now, but then again, the Rillaboom can go for Fake Out, Jamie, but the Indeedee is in the back.
And he's just lost his Arcanine now, so he's got a free switch in into that Excadrill, which would be able to threaten down both the Dragalge and the Hatterene with either a Quake or a Steel Spike into the Hatterene. There is always that Indeedee switch in, and the Rillaboom with -1 attack now isn't going to be threatening too much, other than maybe a Fake Out into the Hatterene to be able to stop Trick Room. But there's not too much stopping the Excadrill from going on the offensive here. There's no Indeedee to redirect a way to be able to set up the Trick Room. And maybe with the Urshifu waiting in the back, then Lalli doesn't want to be going for the Trick Room here. But Excadrill really has its free choice of KO on either Pokemon, really. The Dragalge might be quite close whether it would be in range of a Quake, but the Hatterene would definitely be in range of any Steel move that the Excadrill wants to go for. We are going to be seeing that Dynamax, so it is going to be launching off a very powerful move. It's either taking the KO on the Hatterene as it didn't switch out into that Indeedee, or doing huge amounts of damage to the Dragalge.
Wow, so the Excadrill is going to be in a prime position to deal huge amounts of damage right now from Alexandre's side. Lalli is going to be hoping maybe if he has Babiri Berry to survive on the Hatterene, but before that, we're going to see the Max Guard come out from that Dragalge. There is a Babiri Berry on the Hatterene as the Max Steel Spike does target it down. Does it survive? And if it does survive, is there a double up? It does survive. This is crucial. Ladies and gents, will the Rillaboom be going into the Hatterene? Logically, it should be, but then again, you never know. Babiri does allow it to survive. Their knockoff does actually go into the Dragalge's Max Guard, allowing Lalli that Trick Room setup that Alexandre could have easily shut down right there, Jamie.
Yeah, and any attack from the Rillaboom would have been able to take out that Hatterene, so very nice item choice on the Hatterene as well. We do see Life Orb on it very commonly, but as we've seen, that is on the Delmice, so Babiri Berry is going to be very clutch for the Hatterene here. It is able to set up Trick Room. The Dragalge has lost its Dynamax now, and so we'll have to see what water move it does have access to, whether that is going to be the Scald or the Hydro Pump. That could be crucial in deciding on whether the Excadrill will go down to any attack. And the Rillaboom slot is threatened down by the Steel moves. There's no Excadrill switch in, so if the Dragalge did want to Sludge Bomb that Rillaboom, it's pretty much going to take a knockout here. The Hatterene probably going to be in range of another Grassy Glide, but it could easily just switch out into that Indeedee and get rid of that priority on the Grassy Glides, and most likely would survive because of that earlier Whirlwind drop onto the Rillaboom. The Estra still does have its Focus Sash intact, so it would need to be a double up from the Hatterene and the Dragalge to be able to take out the Excadrill, but because that Grassy Glide is threatening down that Hatterene, it is going to be switching out into that Indeedee.
Wow, that Indeedee will be switching in now, so Grassy Glide, like you said, will no longer be able to get priority, which means this Dragalge should be getting a free KO, if it can, of course, onto this Rillaboom, which it does go for through that Sludge Bomb, and of course it does pick up that KO, showing how strong, even at neutral, that adaptability Dragalge boosted Sludge Bomb is. Max Quake does come out from the Excadrill into the Dragalge, will be picking up the KO, and more importantly as well, boosting its special defense by 1 stage, which is really key when you see Lalli's Pokemon be in the form of, let's say, for example, the Indeedee and the Hatterene, which usually are those specially offensive. As the Hatterene does come in now, even at low HP, it still is threatening huge amounts of damage, as well as the Togekiss on Alexandre's side, showing, of course, his bring him down to his last 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, even though the Trick Room's gone up, it's still quite a nice position for Alexandre here. The Excadrill now has a boost in both of its defenses after that Steel Spike and Quake, so it's really not going to be taking too much damage from the Hatterene or the Indeedee. We've seen Mystical Fire on the Indeedee, but that still won't do too much damage. The Hatterene isn't an offensive one either with that Babiri Berry, even if it itself is carrying the Mystical Fire. Excadrill will be able to shrug off both attacks. The Togekiss most likely going to survive an Expanding Force from both Pokemon because that's not an offensive Hatterene, but it doesn't want to risk that, it just wants to protect itself instead.
Goes for that very crucial protect, as the Hatterene does go for the Dazzling Gleam, will be able to break a potential Focus Sash on that Excadrill, as the Indeedee will be moving straight after with a Mystical Fire actually into the Togekiss slot, into that protect, as the Max Steel Spike from that Excadrill will be coming out into the Hatterene slot, wanting to pick up that KO, as well as boost its defense by 1 stage, as well as the Toadkisses, maybe in anticipation of the Urshifu in the back, because I felt like a Max Quake could have been very safe there as well, which does bring Lalli back to his last 2, now on his side of the field.
Yeah, now the Trick Room that Lalli set up might come back to hurt him, as the Urshifu was the main thing threatening down the Excadrill, but most likely the Excadrill and the Togekiss on Alexandre's side is going to be able to move first. Indeedee's really not going to be able to threaten a knockout on the Togekiss, and it will just be able to fire off a Dazzling Gleam, bypass any redirection that the Indeedee wants to go for, and really threaten down this Urshifu. So it's still a really nice position for Alexandre. It was quite interesting seeing a Dazzling Gleam instead of an Expanding Force coming out from the Hatterene, so maybe it doesn't have access to that. Maybe it is very supportive with its Babiri Berry as well. So we do see the Delmise on his side of the field. Maybe it's carrying that Magic Powder to pair with the Delmise to turn things into Psychic types so that big ghost damage could come out from the Delmise. But unfortunately, that's being taken off the field now. Alexandre did decide to get rid of the Hatterene instead of the redirection on the Indeedee, so no redirection is going to be coming out this turn instead, though.
Yeah, but that Indeedee will be getting that double hit on both the Excadrill and the Togekiss thanks to that Expanding Force. Dazzling Gleam comes out from that Togekiss, picks up a critical hit onto that Urshifu, brings it down to its Focus Sash, whilst dealing good damage onto that female Indeedee as well, which now, thanks to the double up from that Excadrill's Iron Head, is KO'd, allowing that Urshifu to go for the Wicked Blow onto the Excadrill, actually picking up the KO. As usual, that Wicked Blow is 100% chance to pick up a crit, but in this point, you know, it's all about if this Urshifu maybe has Protect.
Even then, would it be able to take out this Togekiss? It would have to have something like a Thunder Punch to be able to threaten it down. But it doesn't look like there's going to be any Protects coming out. The Urshifu is just going to be taken out by that Dazzling Gleam, and Alexandre is going to be able to take this win for France.
Yeah, so very, very well played from both players. But Alexandre